So thanks for coming by, guys. Now we're going to just roll right into an episode of Scam Rehab, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!
Let's get it.
All right, let's bring this guy in, huh?
Let's get it.
Let's just drop right into it.
Get it.
How do I get
Landmark
this guy
Forum, baby. Landmark Forum.
Yeah, guys. Okay, so this, but maybe I should introduce. We never introduced. So this is Pierre. He is a victim of the Landmark Forum. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that's the one where you can't take a bathroom break, right?
That's the one. Yeah, they have that trick, but
oh, he just left the room. What is he doing?
Oh.
It's
kind of like large group awareness training.
There he is. I got him.
They all have similar curriculums.
Hello, Pierre. How's it going?
Pierre.
Welcome.
How are you guys?
Welcome to
Thanks.
Scam Rehab. It's a little show we do. How are you doing? Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm doing great, thanks. My wife and I are nervous as heck right now because we're getting closer to our baby arriving, and we have like a crazy high workload here at my business. So we're like, things are interesting. But when you guys mentioned Landmark the other day on the drip, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Somebody else has heard of Landmark. And so I went through all 4 levels of the Landmark curriculum, and I don't know, I feel like people who are considering Landmark deserve like a fair sort of like a fair shake or a fair analysis of what the program is like. And so that's why I kind of volunteered myself for this.
You offered yourself as tribute.
Yes,
I did. Yeah,
you're a graduate. Tell us what happened.
4 classes. Is there a certification on the 4? Sorry.
So you get like a cute little diploma thingy, but
they give you names. They don't give you names on this. Are you a graduate?
No. You don't get names. Like you don't get deemed like a Hokage or a Shogun or a samurai or something. But
Okay.
I think that the whole fundamental thing about Landmark is they really want you to complete all 4 levels because they really make money when you start going past the actual Landmark Forum.
Oh, right.
And B, they pitch you this success pitch that sort of entices you and makes you think that you're going to emerge from this thing as like a super successful person.
Nice. So they got a tight pitch.
They do, yeah. And the pitch isn't money. It's not wealth. So like a lot of the guys that you guys are investigating are usually wealth scammers.
Yes. Correct.
These are not wealth scammers at all. These are all these people are all about creating people of more integrity and who are better human beings.
Scamming God. They're good. They're directly scamming God. They're saying we scam you on your spirituality. No money. No.
I don't think that they. No, it's not even on a spiritual level because religion never really entered the conversation. It's more about in your relationship with other people, and so that's why. If people ask me to go back and assess my experience with Landmark and the value I got out of it, I think the material is actually very good and useful, but I think the way they sell it to you and the way the company is run and the way they pitch it to you leaves some things to be desired, to say the least.
Right.
Explain what you mean. So, first of all, how much are you paying? It seems like every time I talk to anybody about this, they describe it like almost like it's a pyramid scheme, where you have to get people underneath you and everyone's signing up. But unlike most pyramid schemes, it doesn't seem like anyone's making money.
Right. That was one of the things that I was always frustrated with within Landmark. I didn't know where the money was going because you never meet
any cult? I mean, is it a cult? What would you call it?
I wouldn't call it a cult, but I'd call it an organization that has some cultish tendencies. So they're like 3 or 4 basic. So I have a psychology background, which makes it even more ridiculous that I did this. And
hey, it's tight. They got a tight curriculum,
But there are 4 or 5 things that would designate something as a cult. So the first thing is appeal to a higher power, and we never did any of that in Landmark. Like religion never entered into the discussion. The second thing was the second trait of a cult is that you de-emphasize the individual, and people were not encouraged to be like everybody else. Although I felt like in Landmark, our individuality became diluted in a way that kind of made me hate the program a little bit. I was like, wow, we're all the same, even though they're telling us not to all be the same. The number 3 thing that I think most cults have that Landmark did not have was that you're not in it till the end. Once you graduate, you're done and they leave you alone. And then the 4th thing that I think makes it not a cult that some cults do is that you're sort of encouraged at the end of this thing to like spend all of your time with people who are part of the group. And while there was a little bit of that, and I did make some friends in Landmark, I would say that, again, when I was all done, I was able to go out and be free to be myself.
Right. Who started Landmark, and why do people like who's pushing it forward if most people are not making money who are volunteering?
Okay, let's break it down into 2 questions. So the Landmark started with this guy named Werner Erhard, and that was not his real name. So if you Google Werner Erhard Landmark, you'll find out that he changed his name like a lot of guys do. I mean, whenever I meet somebody who's changed their name, like think Jason Bond, from like Raging Bull. When you hear of somebody who changed their name to make themselves seem like a more enlightened person.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So Werner Erhard was like a car salesman from Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And he got married, he had a bunch of kids, and he like ditched his wife and moved out to the West Coast. And then suddenly he became enlightened and became a better person. And he started the Erhard training seminar training at EST or EST.
Okay.
And, I think he liked that name because, the word a or EST or however you spell it is French for verb to be or Latin for is or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, some sort of weird cryptic nonsense. And Erhard started his training seminars in California, and there were weird things that happened. Like people were discouraged from taking bathroom breaks. They were told to, basically pay attention the whole time, like they were riveted to whatever was going on. And so then Erhard eventually built it up into a business, and he sold it, and it became Landmark. Now there are 2 divisions of Landmark. There's Landmark Education, which is for normal lay people who are not part of a company. And then there's the Vanto Group, which is which is strictly Landmark, but for big businesses. So these guys have set up their training so well that they've gotten certain companies in their pocket, and they send people in huge groups from these companies to Landmark forums.
Wow.
Who are these companies?
Woo!
You want me to Google them? I can't remember off the top of my head, but Lululemon is one of them.
Really?
Yeah, and Lululemon is an MLM. And the funny thing is, one thing I was going to say, when you mentioned MLM-ish stuff, there are a lot of people who are involved with MLMs that take the Landmark Forum, which was another thing that made me really suspicious.
Okay, so what you're saying is Landmark Forum is this 4-thing course. How long does it take to graduate? And then what you're ostensibly supposed to get like interpersonal skills out of it, you're saying?
Absolutely. So I'll give you like the 4 steps. The first one is the basic forum. And you and like a bunch of other people attend the forum. Before COVID, we were doing them in hotels, and I think they've changed that. And so they'd encourage you to stay the entire weekend at or near the forum site. And you wouldn't get a lot of time for lunch. You wouldn't get a lot of time for dinner, but you would be able to take bathroom breaks at designated times, which is fine. Okay, whatever, And then the next level is something called the seminar. And the seminar is something you attend on a weeknight for like, I can't remember. It's like 13 weeks or 14 weeks. And so I live out near the Kennedy Space Center in Brevard County, and the seminar trainings were in Orange County, which is like Orlando, Universal, Disney, etc.
Sure. Yeah.
So once a week, me and another lady from the seminar course would drive out there. We'd leave at like 6, and we'd get back at like midnight or 11 or whatever. Sometimes I'd drive by myself. And I guess at the time the seminar was almost done, you signed up for once you get into the seminar, then you sign up for a course called the advanced course. The advanced course is like Forum but on steroids, and it's like a 2-day course where you take more interpersonal skills training.
So sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to like kind of drill down because we're still sort of in vagaries about like what is actually taught here, right? Because I'm hearing interpersonal, like what are they doing? What are you taught to do? Are you like standing in a circle, committing sacrifices? What are you doing?
I like it. No, actually, we're taught about 3 or 4 basic things. So they touch heavily on integrity. They teach people to have integrity, and there were a lot of people in Landmark that were really scummy people. So they were realtors and car salesmen and people who used to be in prison and stuff for selling drugs or whatever, that people that you would associate with a lack of integrity. The second thing that they teach you is to be not have conflicts with other people. So they call these conflicts rackets, and rackets are stories you make up about other people that disrupt your relationship with them. And so when you are running a quote unquote racket, it's sort of like you have a bunch of stories circulating about your interpersonal relationships with others that you have to move on past. And that's particularly what I was interested in for reasons I'll get into later. The third one is that there's this voice in your head, right, that's always telling you that you can't do stuff. And this is something they talk about a lot, the little voice in your head that tells you that you can't accomplish things. So they talk about changing your inner dialogue with yourself. And then the fourth thing is they teach you how to realize your goals. So goal realization is the last thing. And that's capitalized, like how to be a creator or an influencer and how to build things from zero and how to get people to rally around a cause like a nonprofit, for example. And so those are really like the big 4 takeaways.
Now, none of this sounds inherently bad. I mean,
no, it's not. The material is helpful and good. I mean, I actually got something out of Landmark,
right?
But the problem is that they don't really talk about where the money goes, and they're when you're within the program, they are freaking relentless about getting you to do more stuff, and it gets really annoying.
How expensive does it get? Let's say, how much did you spend?
I probably only spent about $3,000 on coursework, but then there's some other costs that are involved. So think about like the cost of driving to and from this thing, 120 miles for your seminar series. Yeah. And then you look at things like tolls, you look at wear and tear in your car, and you look at time cost. And, I guess time cost varies for certain people, but I would say that like, I probably spent somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 being a Landmark grad. And when I looked back on it, I was like, was it really worth it? But the material itself is not that expensive. And if you're willing to sleep in a tent and just pay for the seminars and get there by hitchhiking, then it's only somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000, depending on.
How many people do they have at these forums? Because how much money are they raking in here?
Oh gosh, like the forum.
And who's making the money? I guess that is the question, isn't it?
Yeah, the question is who's making the money, and that's really where things get fishy. But let's start with the number of people at the forum. The forums are like 150 to 250 people, and the Landmark forum itself, I think if you sign up early, it's like $250. And if you sign up later, I think in some areas it can be as much as $500. But I think that the lowest cost was $250. And you're doing some math. And then at the advanced course, usually I would say about 50% of those people go on to complete the advanced course, which is, I think the lowest price for the advanced course is $175. And then after that, there's the seminar. The seminar is free. You get it with your forum. And then there's the SELP, which I didn't talk about. It's the last tier, the Self-Expression Leadership Program. And that's the one where I think I paid about $1,200 to do it. Then you have hotels for the 2 forums, which, are, I guess, whatever hotels cost in a given area. But I The SELP, which is the big kahuna, only usually has about 30 attendees or so per program. And they only do them like every 6 months or so.
Yeah. Wow. Who this feels organized. Who's running it?
So Landmark is a privately held company, and it seems like there are some employees who are at the top that administer everything. Like they work in their offices. Like they have a big office in Fort Lauderdale. But then getting people to sign up and teaching the courses is all done by volunteers that give ridiculous amounts of their time.
Weird. Look at this. Yeah, millions of people on 6 continents have participated in the Landmark Forum, Landmark seminars, Landmark courses. Landmark is a for-profit company owned by 600 employees through an employee stock ownership program and other international plans. That's what they say.
Yeah, so that's true. The employees do own stock in the company, but nobody knows this. Nobody knows how much the leadership is getting. And apart from once in a while where you will meet somebody at the top and they'll come in and talk for like 15 or 20 minutes, you know, at a Landmark course. By the way, if there are any loud noises, I'm sorry, but they'll talk for 15 or 20 minutes at a Landmark course. You never meet the people who are at the top. You can talk to some of the people on the phone who do day-to-day stuff, and they're usually pretty nice and pretty pleasant, you know, but they don't really disclose where the money goes. The revenue stream is a total mystery.
And how much do they try to get you to commit? You mentioned like they harass you to commit. What do you mean by that?
They want a lot of your time. And for somebody like myself who, you know, basically every hour of my time is worth, you know, if you average it out. By the way? I have a Mercedes restoration shop.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
So, you know, it's a business that I basically started from nothing, and I've enjoyed a lot of success with it. But anyway, you know, somebody who makes like $90 to $100 an hour running a repair shop, I don't exactly want to go teach an introduction to leadership program, which I'll tell you about after I'm done saying this, you know, 40 hours a week or whatever. The introduction to leadership program and the seminars, again, are all taught by volunteers. And the one that they really want you to do, they really want you to sell the course to your friends. And this is one thing that really irritated me. What they will do is they will get 1 or 2 people within, let's say, a friend group. Like I had a group of friends, right? A big group of friends. And I met a guy who just sort of like hooked up with us and became friends with us. And he was a normal person, but he was also involved with Landmark. And so he got his girlfriend, who was a friend of mine, to sign up. And then they got me and a couple of other people to sign up. And pretty soon, people within this group today are still like investigating whether or not they want to take Landmark or not. So, you know, the pitch is
what is the pitch? Like, hey, you don't know yourself, you don't know other people, find out?
The pitch is more like, hey, you're frustrated with things in your life right now. You don't feel like you're successful. You don't feel like they're working out for you. Why don't you take our program so you can become more self-actualized?
It's like the Maslow's hierarchy thing. They're telling you.
Right. They really talk a lot about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Sounds like a manifestation coach.
Yeah, it does sound a bit like that.
Sort of, yeah. There is some manifestation coaching. And I mean, even I think the things that I got out of it, like, I'm not going to lie, the training helped me in some ways, but in other ways it did not help me at all. And the ways it helped me, I ended up getting the writing job that I wanted. Maybe more because I'm not saying this about myself in a bad way, but if I want something, I try to find a way to make it happen. And I've always been that way. It did help me in some ways grow my business. And it did in some ways help me to expand my business to the level that I wanted to. Like I had this idea that I needed.
This is the worst episode of Scam Rehab. I don't think this is a scam. I mean, it feels like it's like a it's like a self-help thing, though. I mean, it sounds like a honestly, it sounds like a Tony Robbins. It's pretty
Tony Robbins.
It does, yeah. So I guess you're looking for some of the rotten fruit in the core of the ripe apple, aren't you?
Yeah, like if you guys can hear me, here's a question: Are they collecting dirt on you? Are they like, you know, when you said they did the shame stuff where they collect
Are you
stuff,
are you talking about doxing people?
I'm talking about when they collect all the information of like, give us all the information where you're having bad relationships, those toxic entanglements or whatever you call them, right? Give us
Oh
that
yeah,
do they
for
use
sure,
that
for
against you? Do
sure.
they text you and say, hey, this is why Cindy doesn't call you back, you loser?
No,
You
well,
know?
no, I wouldn't say that. But sometimes they get you to do stuff that I think they'd regret. Like, for example, if you try to force your family to sign up for Landmark, which they tried to get me to do, and I
Yeah.
brought my brother and my sister and my mom all to Landmark. Like,
Oh, bring the family.
bring the family, right? Exactly. Um, what they don't account for is when you ask your family to do this stuff repeatedly, it can damage familial relationships.
Yeah, of
100%.
course. 100%.
I knew one guy because he got so fanatical about the Landmark stuff. He and his wife didn't have a great relationship before Landmark, but Landmark basically, like, instead of helping the relationship, his wife got so sick of Landmark, she divorced him.
I love that. That's God's plan.
You
That's
know
God's
what?
plan.
Apparently, Landmark doesn't work because I thought it was supposed to help he needs to stop making a racket.
Yeah, the rackets. That's it.
Got to get rid
I
of
don't
the
know. I mean,
rackets,
he
dude.
took it trying to, and it happened to me too in a way with my sister. So this is the background I was trying to get into. Now we're going to get into the personal experience stuff,
So
which
sad.
hopefully you guys could tolerate. So the thing that got me to take Landmark wasn't even a self-actualization thing. You know, I was fine. Like, I was doing okay for a 27-year-old at the time. I was doing just fine. I had, you know, at the time I had a car collection worth $250,000, and I had savings, and I had like 60 plus hours of work a week, and I was getting, you know, all the work I could handle. So I was good at my job. I had a business partner though, and that business partner was my sister.
Uh-oh.
So my sister and I had a very close relationship, and our relationship got even closer because when I was 24, my father passed away because of a massive medical malpractice incident, and my sister went from being like a normal 21-year-old girl to having PTSD. And after that, she developed like some personal issues. She started to get really angry. She became very attached to money and finance, and she became irate and difficult to communicate with, and everybody else was always wrong and she was always right about everything. So working with my sister at first was okay, but then when some of these personality traits and the effects of her PTSD started to come out, I started to feel like it was all my fault. And I took the Landmark course because I wanted to find a way to heal our relationship. And so after I took the forum and I realized what had happened to my relationship with my sister, and I started to feel like it was all my fault, I began doing whatever I could to get my sister to accept me and approve of me and, you know, listen to me and talk to me. Like, I let her do whatever she wanted to do, essentially, even though she was starting to get really controlling and nasty and mean. And so what Landmark does to some people is, I'm not saying everybody gets this, but some people get this. They start to feel when they take the course like all of the conflict in their life is their fault. And that wasn't entirely true. And so after I sort of red pilled on Landmark after taking all 4 courses, I thought to myself, you know, maybe my sister and I just shouldn't work together. And so that was it. I told my sister, I said, I think you're better off running your own business. And she got really angry at me. And she and I have, despite all the relationship training I took, that relationship was unfixable because when I wanted to do big boy things like go off and get a girlfriend and get married and run my own business and be responsible for managing my own money and buy my own commercial property, my sister got even worse and freaked out. And so I kind of had to, you know, do what Stefan Molyneux calls defooing. I had to cut her off completely because having a relationship with her was way too toxic. So here's where Landmark comes into this. Okay. She went with me to a Landmark introduction, and she goes, "You've turned into a brainwashed idiot, Pierre. There's something wrong with you." She's like, "These people are scamming you."
Oh, yeah. Hey, have respect. You said have respect for the gurus.
What did you say to that?
What'd you say?
I told her, I said, well, you know, I did this because I was trying to heal my relationship with you. And she's like, well, whatever. These people are goofballs. You know, there's some cultish behavior here. It's, you know, she's like, I think this is a scam and a cult, which my sister would not listen to any explanation about anything. So I don't know. I think that the whole thing, if somebody could have just told me in the beginning that I needed to be a big boy and take care of myself and do all my own stuff,
Yeah.
and that my sister needs help, but she doesn't want help, and that's really the whole problem. If somebody had just explained that to me, it would have been fine. But instead, I went around for like 3.5 years, and sometimes still do a little bit, feeling like my relationship with my sister is completely my fault.
Something, well, yeah, and I do think people give themselves simultaneously too much credit and also too little credit. They give themselves so much credit to think they can fix all the problems in other people's life, and with any kind of relationship, it intersects the problems in your life and the problems in her life, and you're giving yourself too much credit if you think you can fix that for both of you. You're also probably giving yourself too little credit of being like, oh, it's all my fault, I didn't do enough. So people they're just hard on themselves. I just noticed most people who tend to be introspective, maybe a little more, I don't know, reflective, tend to look at themselves with the hardest lens, and it's probably not fair either way. Yeah. But for sure, Landmark's not going to save your relationship with your sister. I mean, sounds like there's a much deeper issues there.
Right.
It sounds like a great way to find lonely people, though. Like they have figured out.
Oh yeah.
Like how do we get sad, lonely people? The marketing, the advertising, the main pitch is like, hey, break up. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I know you're right about that, because there are a lot of people in Landmark that are like marginalized, right? So to identify some of the groups that I met in Landmark, I met a lot of people who had gone through a lot of personal trauma, people who had medical issues, people who were struggling with like their sexual orientation and really didn't know like what step to take, or feel like they weren't accepted because of it. You'd see a lot of people that would say that I would say operate on the fringes of society, and as you got up into the Landmark scales, the concentration of these people were thicker and greater. But there were also some people in Landmark that were like I said earlier, they were involved in MLMs for sure. Like a girl that I became friends with in Landmark, she was like 10 years older than me. So she had she was a mom with 3 kids, and she was an accomplished interior designer. She later went on to run what I would call a travel MLM. And these people in Landmark, because they'd get my information, they'd come back to me later asking them to join their MLM.
Of course.
Wow. Of course.
So, I mean, you kind of become bait in the water when you go to one of these things.
Chum.
Oh, yeah.
You're chum.
They got the suckers list.
I want to say this publicly, like in case my friend ever sees this, I'm not trying to slight her at all. But she's like, oh, Pierre, you travel all the time. Now you see, like, you travel all the time. And I do. I travel to like airports nobody's heard of to look at cars that have been stuck in people's garages, sort of like Wayne Carini does, but not.
You sound like you actually have a very interesting job.
Yeah, you have a great job. You have a cool job.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, you can. I'm not pitching my channel because I know you hate that. But if you search me on YouTube, you'll find my channel, and I talk about a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
It's fine. I feel like we just hate when someone comes and shouts out some fake guru. Then it's like, hey, have respect. But it's like,
yeah, no, I'm never going to get more than 50,000 subscribers. I have a very small niche interest group, so But anyway, going back to this, she was like, oh, well, I created this business out of Landmark, or became involved in this business out of Landmark. It was like a travel club where you pay in and then they reward you with a vacation that somebody like me would not want to go on. Like, you get to go hang out with a bunch of baby boomers in Hawaii for 4 days, in a bee resort where you don't know what's happened the night before in the bed you're sleeping in, all for just a little bit of money, like we'll say like a 5% discount over what you normally pay. And I told her, I said, I don't go to major destinations. I don't go on vacations. Please leave me alone. I don't want to be part of this group.
Why are people this lonely? Like, talk to your family, people. You have family, right? You got to go pay into something to
Landmark. You don't.
Travel. Yeah, no.
Landmark is your family, and that's what they call themselves.
Yeah. Well,
Landmark family.
You were saying there's like an MLM crossover here too. It's like, I've noticed that sales training, MLM training, this stuff, cults, same curriculum.
But it's almost like what I'm hearing is that Landmark preps you for the scam later, where it's like all the people come out of it and they're like, "Hey, have you seen my MLM?
It's
have
like
you heard of my self-improvement course?" You're like,
do that,
people are calling it the chum bucket in chat.
Yeah. Well, they probably go into the class and they're like, okay, because you have to work on examples probably in your life. And they come up and they're like, so my example is I own an MLM where we do travel stuff and whatever. So it's like they get the advertising out and they tell everyone about their class probably. Can you do that?
A little bit, yeah. And I mean, like, there's another thing that goes on Landmark too. So there are a lot of lonely guys that take Landmark. And there are a lot of very attractive women in Landmark, some of whom are
a lot of hot girls.
Oh.
A lot of hot girls.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, so for example,
Pierre,
like Lululemon funnels attractive
I didn't
women.
expect that of you.
A lot of hotties, Steven. A lot of hotties.
And I even asked one of the girls who worked for Lululemon, I was like, hey, you want to hang out sometime? She's like, I'm just here because I'm told to be here. It's part of my job.
Strike out. Just go on to the next one.
Yeah, well, at the time I was 27. I didn't care. I'm not like,
You're now convincing people to join. This is bad. This is very bad.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm at Landmark.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it was kind of a raw deal if you had that kind of expectation. Initially, one of the reasons that I signed up for the forum, one of the things that sort of got me to go to a specific forum was because this girl that I was kind of attracted to was going to do it too. And she's like, hey, you want to get rooms in the same hotel? Not the same room, but you got
honey potted.
Honey potted. Forgot.
Sort of, yeah, a little bit. I mean, she and I had fun together, but not in that way. We had fun doing the forum together.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys that started going to church like that. They just start dating a girl and they're like, yeah, I go to church now. It's not a big deal. It's fine.
Right. Well, it's funny because a lot of the people, so like the people that they look for are people that are sometimes involved in religious groups because they say that it'll make your religion experience better.
Oh, so they kind of take it from every angle. They go from.
They do. They hunted it. They hunted every angle. So the group I got introduced to this with. So once upon a time, when I had like more free time on my hands, I was involved with a group of like young Catholics that they'd call a Catholic young adult group in Orlando. And so, that was like a big part of my life. Full disclosure in this channel, like I'm a traditional Roman Catholic. I go to Mass in Latin. Okay. My wife and I are, we're both Catholic. We both like going to church and we have a lot of Catholic friends. And they penetrated this group of Catholic friends because Catholics are always trying to improve themselves, at least the honest ones.
No respect.
You got that constant Catholic guilt, and they're like, "Hey,
no respect.
Can help you."
Yeah, well, exactly, and it worked. It worked out for some people. Like one of my really good friends took the course, despite the fact he didn't want to, because his girlfriend who had taken the course said, "You really need this course because it's going to make you the better person that I want to be."
Oh my God. I want to see their Catholic sales manual where they're like, if you're going into each community, they probably have like little stereotypes, little things you can bring up with them.
I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but I do know that they have this thing called the Introduction to Leadership program that I mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And for the ILP, we're just going to call it what they call it.
Okay, ILP, yeah.
They want a huge time commitment. They want you to put you have to do the pitch and get 3 or 4 people to sign up. And once you're in the ILP, you're committed for I can't remember how long the period of time is, but instead of hosting it at hotels, they host it at people's houses who are really involved with Landmark evangelization. You want to call it something, call it the gospel of Landmark.
The congregation has to start somewhere, brother.
Right, exactly. And so I went to like one of my friend's introductions because she wanted to be in the ILP. This was the girl that was dating the friend that originally penetrated our group.
Okay.
And I think after the charm of Landmark wore off, she left the ILP. She left him because she realized that she was just dating him because of the pressures from Landmark. And when she came to, she's like, I didn't really want this. So she left him and met somebody she actually liked. So I think it like forces a lot of contact with people you wouldn't necessarily associate with that. But then one day you could wake up and be like, well, I met and married this person that I met in this seminar that I don't really care that much about.
I thought you said it wasn't that like, the thing is, I thought you said it wasn't that, like you just got through the 4 courses and that was it. You would never see those people again. But that's
you can. Yeah, that's what I did. I kept like 2 or 3 friends that I talked to sporadically from Landmark. This is minus the friends I have that I know that took it that I don't talk about it with. But
there's not a weekly service. Like these guys aren't setting up like a little weekly service.
no, and they don't try to hound you either. I mean, I made the mistake of signing up for another course, and if you sign up for a course and you don't show up, and you ask for your money back, guess what you're not getting?
Of course.
Oh,
yeah, they're not
money.
gonna, they don't give refunds. They just say, oh, well, you can take this course in the future. That course. Like, I don't want to take your membership course. Give me my money back. They won't give your money back, and
it sounds like a bad deal. It sounds like a bad deal. I mean, they're promising self-improvement, which sounds like you got a little bit of. So, it just sounds like it's a kind of a waste of time, maybe for some people, and also a waste of money. But
Anand actually went through this same training. Apparently, Anand was saying that the curriculum of large group awareness training is just taken from Landmark Forum. Like they all kind of copy each other's curriculum a little bit. Even Keith Raniere from The Bow, he took their formula too.
And that's what it is. It's self-awareness training.
It's self-awareness training, but it seems to be very abusive from what I can tell. Like they fucked him up. I remember months later, we're doing because I write ads with this guy that we saved from a cult on an earlier episode. And I remember we're like getting on the phone to write ads. And I thought we were going to talk about the ads. And dude, for an hour, he's like, yeah, they really fucked me up, man. They told me this and they told me this. They told me I'm not good enough. I was like, what am I going to say to the guy?
I wouldn't say that, but I would say that there are two things that got under my skin. So they call the little voice already always listening for some reason. I don't know why they call it that. They have this goofy Landmark terminology for everything, which really bugs the crap out of me.
Okay.
The already always listening voice is what they say dominates people's thinking and choices and decisions and everything. And so now anytime I try to evaluate something in my head, I'm always like second guessing myself. I didn't used to second guess myself so much, but now I feel like I second guess everything I do.
Pierre.
Yeah, well,
right.
But the other thing,
you know what? We've got a training here at the Drip that maybe you should go to.
Oh yeah, what's
it's
that?
It's at a hotel. We won't let you use the bathroom, and we'll charge you money.
Well, they say that urine toxicity has its beneficial effects for the brain.
No. You're lying.
I'm totally pulling your leg.
They're getting every angle. So you're saying they're getting every angle.
No, I'm totally pulling your leg.
They're like, hold the pee and the toxicity goes up. I love that, dude.
I'm pulling your leg. But the other thing is, like, I find myself frustrated when I meet somebody who's not self-aware. Like, I'm like, oh, this person isn't self-aware. So it like builds a little bit of bias into you. But after, a few years out after taking Landmark, I think I've reverted the person I was before Landmark.
Well, there's a lot of people who are self-aware who didn't take a Landmark course. You don't have to take a Landmark course to become self-aware.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are a lot of people out there who don't need the training. So I guess like it's a bad deal for some people and it's a good deal for others. So like if you were in prison because you freaking embezzled all this money out of a company and you went to white collar jail and you have zero integrity, I would say you need Landmark. Either because A, you're going to learn integrity, or B, you need to feel what it's like to be scammed. One of the two. But I think for like normal people that have normal relationships, like normal, happy, healthy people, I think that Landmark is going to keep you from being your fullest self, and maybe at the end of the day, when you look at a program like Landmark, this is just any of your viewers who are thinking about whether you want to do Landmark or not. Try to just help yourself first without spending all the time.
Just come to the Drip podcast, guys.
Drip
just hang out
once a week.
Just don't do what any of the people that you are investigating do, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, that's great. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, man.
Thanks.
I appreciate it, Pierre. It was interesting to find out about Landmark. I didn't know it was like, honestly, I left this feeling like it's more like a Tony Robbins seminar than anything.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
saying that too.
But Tony Robbins is even more into the.
I think Tony Robbins boosts
more sketchy almost.
He is, because he boosts a lot of people into the public forum that are actual scammers.
Right, and that's the thing. Yeah.
But you get a lot of crossover. There were a lot of people in Landmark that were Tony Robbins seminar attendees.
100%.
You see that, and so I think maybe it's
the self-development thing. It's very funny. Everyone's chum in the self. We talked about Landmark people being chum, but everybody. So like the best. You know who the best kind of prospect for like a Sam Ovens course is?
100%.
Is a Tony Robbins course guy.
Well,
Right.
and
Somebody's
is
addicted
a
to
day
taking
law course
courses.
guy, because it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same, like, I don't know, 50,000 people taking all the courses over and over again.
Well,
Like
one of the things that
people who are
shocked me.
obsessed with self-improvement, which is not wrong, but
Yeah, but these guys really know who their market is, and they're going for the softest. I don't think they want someone who talks back a little even. They're not trying to convert anyone in.
Right. They
They're like
don't.
the
Yeah.
best
They're
person.
right. Yeah. They tell you this. Like, well, if you disagree, you're free to leave at any time. But
Yeah.
they say that it's okay to say no and assert yourself, but you just keep asking. They keep asking you over and over again, and it's like, is there a public record? Like, I told one of them one time, because they wanted me to sign up for that ILP thing. They're like, oh, Pierre, you're great at presenting stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, will you do the ILP? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. No. And then I get asked again by another person, oh, you should do the ILP. Will you do the ILP? No. Can you please put this in my file, my landmark file? Because I know they keep a file on me.
Yeah. The file
But I
says
said
follow
no.
up in 6 months. Follow up in 6 months. Follow up in 6 months for the rest of your life. Hey,
I mean,
you hit some hard times, maybe they get you
There
back.
was a guy, when we were
forbid.
taking one of our seminar courses, we had to take 2 seminar courses, by the way. So that, 28, 30 weeks total. There was a guy every Wednesday who would fly up from Miami to Orlando to teach this thing.
Wow.
I mean, that's commitment. That's some cash,
yeah, that's serious cash.
He's getting paid.
He might have been. I mean, I tried to figure out whether.
Yeah, it's hard to know who's getting paid here, who's not.
And the
getting
non-disclosure. I mean, Stephen, wouldn't you agree? Stephen and Amish, wouldn't you agree that the non-disclosure is probably the most rotten part of the core?
Yeah.
paid. Of what? Oh, yeah.
Of the whole landmark financial structure. I mean, that's the thing that peeves me about it. The fact that they don't disclose where the money goes. Because you can't just keep dumping money into stocks. Like, sure, the stock appreciates. And then second of all,
the money's going somewhere. Pierre, trust me, the money's going somewhere.
Money's going to somebody, and that was why I quit recommending Landmark to people. My mom almost took the course, and my mom was like, you know what? These people are weird. I don't want to take the course.
Good.
And I'm glad that happened, because it could have made my mom weird or something. Weirder than she already is.
No.
I wouldn't take the I wouldn't take the course. It just sounds like something that you should take if you want to go meet some Lululemon girls.
Yeah, well, they're not very
girls.
friendly.
There's hot girls. There's always hot girls.
They're not very friendly, but I think that going to a place like that, hoping
Pierre's
to
like,
get
listen, hey, I tried. Lululemon girls, not actually.
They said they believed in non.
They're on a mission, though. That's why they're on a mission. They're not here to talk to Pierre from Mercedes. They're here to talk to Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, everyone's dating up, dude. Pay your dues, get to level 3, maybe you'll get some. You know what I mean?
When I met my wife, I asked her, I said, have you ever heard of Lululemon? And she's like, never. No clue.
Wow. Lululemon's hot. They crossed over to mainstream.
Yeah, well, sort of. But I didn't know at the time that they were at MLM. I just
found out when you told me today. I had no idea. Lululemon's an MLM.
Oh, they are. Yeah, they try to get. They have this like referral network where they try to get their reps to buy their crap, just like, Mary Kay or I don't know, Teenchi or Cincy or whatever.
He just did an interview on Patrick Bet-David show. That guy. So that's interesting that you mentioned that. Like, I just saw it like a week ago. Patrick Bet-David had him on talking about business, and he's the owner of Lululemon. And this makes a lot of sense right now. They love the business model.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, they do. They love it. Referral marketing or whatever.
Hey, Pierre, thanks for coming on the show. Got a bunch to get to. So
I'm sure you do. Man. Steven, if you guys ever want to talk about scams in the classic car world, hit me up, because that's what I investigate most of the time.
Oh, sure. Happy to do it. Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you for having me. It was great to be a guest on your show.
Appreciate you.
Good work.
Thank you.
You guys are doing a service to us all. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
and
man.
God is
See
great.
ya.
Thank you.
See ya.
I'm a scammer. Gonna rip you off, take you down.